Let's rate all the tier 1 creatures and heroes of Might and Magic 5.5. It will be approximately based on 60% how strong the unit is and 40% how cool it is. It is extremely objective. It's the final list, there can be no modifications. This is a definitive guide of how each unit ranks. So let's start with Peasants. Peasants have 1 attack, 1 defense, 1 damage, 6 life, 8 initiative, 5 speed, and their abilities are pretty much the same as for you and me. They are living and they are taxpayers. Very basic, very elegant and very simple. And of course very beautiful. And I mean, I would put them in B if not for any other reason than having the ability to pay taxes. So after something like 2 to 3 weeks they pay back their price in gold. So that's one of the reasons why I could put it in B. Maybe later I will rank it at lower, at C for example. Next we have the Conscript. So it has 2 defense as compared to 1 for the Peasant, and 1 more damage. Max roll of the damage is increased by 1. They have 10 life, 8 initiative, 5 speed. And they gain 1 more ability, which is Bash. And Bash is an ability that when you attack a unit that is not mechanical, there is a chance that they will be like stunned. So the unit that is attacked will lose all their initiative, and the chance for that to happen depends on the size of your conscript stack and also if you have a soldier's luck skill. I would rate them a little bit above Peasants. They are basically twice as strong, but Peasants are really weak to begin with, so the main attraction of the Peasants was the money. Next up is Militia, and they have 2 attack instead of 2 defense. They have 9 life, 9 initiative, which I believe is 1 higher than for the Conscript. And instead of Bash they have the ability Assault, which means that they have a chance to attack twice, and the calculation for the chance is similar to Bash. Like technically they have much bigger damage output than the Conscripts, but I prefer to use Conscripts. Like, I guess I understand why you would rate them higher, so I will try to be objective. But they look so much worse than Conscripts, so screw that. Okay, next up we have Inferno with Imps. Imps have 2 attack, 2 defense, 1 to 2 damage, 7 life, 12 initiative, 5 speed. So already they're like offensively much stronger than Peasants, and also defensively a little bit stronger. And they are demonic, and they have the ability to destroy mana, and if I remember correctly, then that mana destruction ability is like it's only like once per combat, but otherwise, yeah. So I like Imps, and I think they don't go higher than C tier, however, and this makes me realize that all these guys also got C tier, because if Imps don't go to B tier, then Peasants don't go either. Next is Familiars. They have 4 attack, 1 to 4 damage, 8 life, 13 initiative, and 6 speed. And instead of destroying mana, they can siphon mana, and this means that they steal the mana from enemy hero and give it to some friendly creatures. The ability is not really useful against like how it's called, mobs. Well, against creatures on the map, but yeah, when you're fighting AI or somebody else, it's a little bit useful. I don't know if it's activated once or twice per if it can be activated only once per combat, or is it? I believe it's only once. Either way, they are nice and hot, which is why I would put them in B tier. The Vermin are a little bit more balanced in terms of stats. They have 3 attack, 3 defense, 2, 3 damage, 9 life, 12 initiative, and 5 speed. Oops, I went ahead. Even though they have less initiative than familiars, I usually prefer them to familiars because they are tankier. And instead of siphoning mana, they steal mana. And what is the difference between these two abilities? The difference is that instead of giving the mana to giving, like stealing the mana, giving it to your creatures, it gives it to your hero. So in many cases that's more useful, unless you have like pit lords, which are kinda nice. So I will also place Vermin in B tier, a little bit higher than familiars, even though familiars are faster. Next up is skeletons. It's a very simple unit, like 1 attack, 2 defense, 1 to 2 damage, 5 life, 10 initiative, and 5 speed. It's simply an undead unit, and for those reasons it's basically at D tier or at the bottom of C tier. I mean, necromancy is strong, so if I would take it into account, I could like put it up in C tier, or basically necromancy makes any undead unit strong, so I think it would be unfair to take it into account, so to D tier. And the skeleton archer upgrade has similar stats. Let me check, is it the same stats? Oh, it's a little bit more tankier with 7 HP. It has 1 less speed, and it's a shooter, and it also has a little bit of magic proof, so 25%. And just these couple of abilities, place it either at the bottom of A tier or the top of B tier. I think I'll put it in A tier. Now the skeleton warrior is a very interesting unit. It is alternative upgrade to skeleton. It has 1 attack, 3 defense, 1 to 3 damage, 7 life, 10 initiative, and 5 speed. And the interesting thing is that even though it's a melee unit and the alternative upgrade is a shooter, it's not completely useless. It has like a lot of utility. First of all, it has large shield ability, which means that it takes only 50% of incoming damage from shooters that are not magical. It has the bash ability, same as the Conscript, and it has a very useful shield ability, which means if you place Skeleton Warrior next to another friendly unit, the friendly unit will take 50% less shooting damage. So I would say it's basically, if you have 3 slots in your army, it's a staple. I mean, in some cases it's actually better than Skeleton Archer. So it's A tier. Next up, Sylvan with Pixies. So the stats are 1 attack, 1 defense, 1 to 2 damage, 7 life, 12 initiative and 7 speed. It's a very fast flying unit and it has no enemy retaliation, and in addition to that it also can target up to 3 units with 1 attack, so it's like a tier 1 Cerberus. Very strong unit, it's squishy but incredibly powerful in my opinion. And I mean, I have to put it in A tier. Only reason it's not in S tier is that it dies quickly. So the upgrade to Pixie is Sprite. It has 3 attack, 3 defense, 2 to 3 damage, 8 life, 12 initiative and 7 speed. And it gains 1 more ability, which is Symbiosis, which allows to heal both itself and a trend stack that you have. And I have actually never tried this ability, but even if you don't use this ability, the sprites are still strong, and also it's a great drink, which makes me want to put it in S tier. Maybe that's a bit too high. Nah, I think it's reasonable. Next up are Dryads. I believe I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. 2 attack, 3 defense, 2 to 3 damage, 9 life, 13 speed and 13 initiative and 7 speed. I usually prefer Dryads over Sprites because they are both faster and tankier, and they also have very useful ability against like enemy heroes, because it can siphon mana and give it to your creatures, which is extremely strong when combined with the alternative druid upgrade. Because the alternative druid upgrade can give your hero like a bunch of additional spell power, but it usually costs a lot of mana to use their ability. So Dryads can enable that in combat. Like one of the ways how I rate the creatures is how much do I dislike facing them in combat, and I absolutely hate and I fear facing Dryads, and I love using them, so they have to go to SS tier. And this thought about how much I hate facing certain units, yeah, I should keep it in mind. Maybe that might make me want to bring all the archers higher, because even if the archers die quickly, they can like they always manage to do some damage to your army. Speaking of doing damage to your army, we have scouts, and dungeon units are something else. They have like basically tier 2 unit stats, or in some cases tier 3. Yeah, 3 attack, 3 defense, 3 to 5 damage, 14 life, 10 initiative and 5 speed. It is a shooter, and it has an interesting ability where it has a melee preference, so basically it deals only 50% of its normal damage in shooting attacks, which means that combined with the shooter penalty at full range, you do like only 1/4 of this damage. They are very weak shooter, so I will put them at B tier. Maybe even lower than the imp upgrades, because those have some utility. It's basically just a shooter with a lot of life. And here is the upgrade Assassin. 4 attack, 3 defense, 3 to 5 damage, 18 life, 12 initiative and 5 speed. It acts much faster in combat, which is very useful. And it also gains one ability, which is Poisonous Attack, which as far as I know ignores enemy defense. I might be wrong. Which is really useful, because like otherwise the damage, like, yeah, it can be really useful, because if you're like facing an enemy hero with high defense, it can sort of bypass that. And last time I played, this couldn't be healed with first aid then, so I have to place assassins. I would say S tier. Yes. Bottom of S tier. You know, actually maybe higher than sprites. Yeah, they're more dangerous. And stalkers are very interesting. They are a melee upgrade, melee only, they are not shooters. They have 4 attack, 3 defense, 3 to 6 damage, 19 life, 11 initiative and 6 speed. Now they have also poisonous attack ability, and they have invisibility, which allows them to you can activate this ability once per combat and they become invisible for 2 turns. It's very useful in the beginning of the game, where if you have a caster hero, you can like make them invisible so the enemy can't target anything, and you can kill them with your spells. So in this sense it's one of the most powerful early game units. I think it kind of falls off in the late game, and in most cases for that reason I prefer to use assassins. But it's a very interesting unit. It's like, it's not, in most cases you would 100% prefer like the melee option, I mean the ranged option, but in this case there are times when stalkers are actually better. I will also place them in S tier, and to annoy some people I will actually place them top of S tier. The tier 1 academy unit Gremlin has 1 attack, 1 defense, 1 to 2 damage, 7 life, 9 initiative and 4 speed. It doesn't have any interesting abilities and it is a shooter. And if I placed scouts at the bottom of B tier, I believe gremlins are even worse. I would say top of C tier. The upgrade is Master Gremlins. It has 2 attack, 2 defense, 1 to 2 damage, 8 life, 11 initiative and 5 speed. It gains 1 more ability, which is Repair, and it allows you to repair like your war machines and golems and other mechanical units. It is much stronger than like the base unit. It's both faster and deals more damage. It does it deal more? Well, it has more attack, but yeah. So I would place them A tier easily. And the alternative upgrade is Gremlin Saboteur. It has 4 attack, 3 defense, 1 to 2 damage, 8 life, 12 initiative and 5 speed. And instead of repair ability it has sabotage, which allows you to like disable enemy mechanical unit for 1 turn if it has less HP. I usually prefer Gremlin Saboteurs over Gremlin Masters because simply because they have better stats. I very rarely use their abilities, and also they have a cooler picture. So I'd place them slightly below Assassin. Very strong. Actually, with the right upgrades and everything, they can be stronger than Assassin. I know they also act faster. Same goes for Master Gremlins. Next up is Defender. It has 1 attack, 4 defense, 1-to-1 damage, 10 life, 9 initiative and 5 speed. It has a large shield, which means it takes less damage from ranged attacks. The Enrage ability, which means it gains a little bit more attack whenever a friendly stack dies, except for summons and stuff like that. And it also has Armored ability, which means you can't reduce its defense. It's a very solid cannon feather, that's how I would call it. I would actually place it B tier. No, it would be nonsensical to place it above Gremlins and Scouts. Cannon feather, any unit can be a cannon feather, it's just yeah. Any unit can be a cannon feather, but none do it better than a Shieldguard. It has 2 attack, 4 defense, 1-to-2 damage, 15 life for tier 1 creature, 9 initiative and 5 speed. It also gains 1 more ability, which is Shield Wall, which means enemy creatures that come up to attack the Shieldguard, they deal 10% less damage for every tile that they walk towards the Shieldguard. I would place it at the top of B tier. Like these very strong, bulky units, they're really... At the beginning of the game they might be like their only purpose is to die, but as the game goes on they become more and more important, and they could like even go like this high in terms of power ranking. But for now I'd place them at like this, like so. Mid B tier. Then the alternative upgrade is Mountain Guard. It is even tankier. It has 1 attack, 5 defense, 1-to-2 damage, 18 life, 8 initiative and 5 speed. So it has two abilities that are different. One of them is Hold Ground, which means it cannot be moved to a different position while it hasn't been moved by yourself, if that makes any sense. And the other thing is that it has +5 defense if it hasn't moved that combat. I like Mountain Guards, they look cool, they are tanky, very similar to Shieldguards. I guess they are less versatile, they just stand there and take damage. I will place them maybe here. Yeah, that's good. Let's place them like this. Next up we have one of the best units in the game. It is called the Goblin. It has like 1 attack, 1 defense, 1 damage, 5 life, 10 initiative and 5 speed. And you might be thinking that it's kinda weak stat set, but it has a lot of abilities. It is living, it has Raging Blood. So Raging Blood allows you to gain various combat bonuses if you use it with a stronghold hero who has Blood Rage. It has Cowardice ability, which means that it runs away from enemy attacks. And also Treachery, which makes it switch sides to your enemy side if it falls under 30% of the original stack size. And for these reasons I would rate Goblins as SS tier. Maybe not as high as Dryads. Okay, I'm just kidding. D tier. Next up is Goblin Trapper. It is upgrade in every sense of the word. It has 2 attack, 1 defense, 1-to-1 damage, 8 life, 10 initiative, and 5 speed. It's not very useful in combat. It has a little bit of utility in that it can set snares, which basically when an enemy unit moves towards somewhere and it steps on a snare, it can be stopped and lose all initiative, but the chance for that to happen is based on luck and the Goblin Trapper stack size. It also has the cover disability, which means that they run away when they are attacked in melee, and in some cases like this ability could be useful so you could more easily kite enemies, but for stronghold units it's even worse. No, it's not as useful because well, if they run away they lose some extra blood rage. Yeah. There is also a skill which gives you 1 gold per every goblin in your army, so it's kind of like a peasant. I would place it bottom of C tier. I like them. If I ranked them according to how much I like them, I would put in S tier. Yes, no joke. That is because I like stronghold. The alternative upgrade is Goblin Witch Doctor. It has 1 attack, 2 defense, 1-to-2 damage, 9 life, 9 initiative, and 4 speed. There's a spelling error here. It is immune to mind control and is a caster, and it can cast cleansing. And unlike other goblins, it isn't a covered. Covered? A covered. Covered. I don't know how to speak. There are some babies crying in the neighboring apartment. Okay. Like, it's a slow and tanky tier 1 unit, but it sort of makes sense that it is slow, because if it like acts after all your units and some of them are like get some debuff, you can cast cleansing at the end of the turn with the Goblin Witch Doctor. I like them, but I usually prefer Goblin Trappers. Yes. I would place them... I don't know what's wrong with me. I would actually place them quite high. Yes. So this is my ranking of all the units in all the tier 1 units in Heroes of Might and Magic 5.5. Actually, there are some amendments I wanted to make. First of all, I don't think defenders should be higher than peasant upgrades. I will put them even below imps on C tier, and Goblin Witch Doctors should probably be under scouts. That makes more sense. See ya.